Joining me right now is Ron Christie, a former special assistant to President George W. Bush. And Mr. Christie, your reaction there to the crowd chanting so loudly there, "Kill the bill, don't kill us," and shame.
Trish, good afternoon to you. For having spent 9 years on Capitol Hill and obviously having observed the House and the Senate chamber, I've never in my career seen anything like that. That is extraordinary. The Sergeant-at-Arms, you kept hearing them say, "Sergeant-at-Arms, restore order." There is a member of the Sergeant-at-Arms staff in each one of those Senate galleries. So the volume that we heard, the number of people who were chanting, I think it took the Sergeant-at-Arms office really by surprise and shock. They should have anticipated this, candidly, and we saw how long it took for them to restore order. It's absolutely unprecedented.
Yeah, you know, I felt it here as well, because as I was watching that with my team, it seemed to go on for quite some time, and I was thinking about other things that have been debated there on the floor and other kinds of protests, and I don't think I've quite seen anything like that as well, Ron. A very passionate, shall we say, response there from some of those protesters. You know, how do they get folks like that out? And you could still hear a little bit of them in the background as they began this vote. You understand why, of course, lawmakers hesitated to actually begin until that quieted down. But how do they actually restore order in a case like that?
So what your viewers, if they've never visited the Senate chamber before, you go through a metal detector, you go up to the second floor, and you have to check your belongings if you have a purse, if you have something big, behind a desk, and they only have a handful of staff back there doing that. So when you hear all that yelling, all that chanting, the Capitol Hill police, a brave group of men and women, have been summoned. They come on the double, they run, and they literally clear the viewing gallery of those protesters. But given how loud we heard that it was, and given the severity of how long it went on, it probably took quite a bit of officers. I would guess probably more than a dozen to clear those people out of there.
Do they have any kind of warning that something like this will happen? I mean, if you're a senator there and you're looking up into the gallery, you might notice on a day like today, there's more people than usual, so you kind of can anticipate or expect that there's some resistance there?
No, I don't think so, because the way that it works is that people are allowed to go in, they're allowed to observe the floor for a certain amount of time. It might be 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes, and then you get escorted out, and then a new group comes in. So if you're a senator on the floor, you're looking up at the gallery, and you'll notice that they shuffle in and they shuffle out, and I guarantee you they were dressed just like me and you. They may have been dressed as tourists, but clearly a very well choreographed operation to be as loud and sustained as they were, and it completely took the Sergeant-at-Arms office by surprise.
It's important to remember that when you say choreographed, because so many of these protests, people think, oh, they're organic and they sprout up on their own. No, these are moves that are very, very well choreographed ahead of time. We are just getting a note here from our producer there on Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, who's saying that dozens were removed. Dozens is his quote. We don't have an exact number from the chamber there, and it indeed took several minutes, as we could all feel as we watched those protesters. Today, however, is a significant day, an important day. How do you think about this now, knowing that they're at least voting to start the actual debate on health care?
I have to say I'm shocked. I mean, Republicans have had 7 years to get their act together, 7 years really to come up with a compromise between the moderates, between the conservatives, and say, okay, this is our time. We have the largest governing majority right now in Washington, D.C. as Republicans since 1929. You may think that Republicans could find 50 votes on a motion to proceed. The fact that we're at this point, the fact that Senator McCain had to fly back from Arizona, shows you how fractious the Republican Party is right now. I still don't know if they have the votes. I mean, getting Dean Heller, the senator from Nevada, was very important to this cause. But if you can't scrape together 50 votes, how are you going to find 60 to get final passage? It doesn't seem to me that they entirely have their act together.
Well, you know, you're preaching to the choir on that one, Ron.